to help grow your businesses. So do you all want me to start, or did we have some more stuff to get to?
We are ready to get started, Kim.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will let you know that although you all are in Mountain Time, I'm actually in Eastern Time, so it's a little after 11. So you all talking about all this delicious food. I wish I was there and I had samples, because I'm missing my lunch for this. So if you hear some big growling, feel free to just FedEx me some stuff in Florida. I'd appreciate it. All of your food sounds delicious. So super excited. I'm going to send this to Michelle if I haven't already. And Michelle, I don't remember if I did, so that she can get a copy of this deck out to everybody as well. So there's really no need to, sit there and write down all this contact information. But just in case you want to, here is my email address. It's the best way to reach me, because I'm usually in meetings about 7 out of 8 hours a day. So email is the best way if you have any questions. But our vendor support team, I should have changed this into Mountain Time for you all, but it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday. They're available via phone and email, and they will get back to you if no one is there within 1 business day, basically. All right, so today we're going to go over a little bit about Bidnet Direct and open government bids. I can't see very well, but how many of you all have ever done business with the government, any kind of government? I don't see any hands raised. So anyone in the room or no?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start kind of, feel free to interrupt me and have me explain anything, because not only do I work with our suppliers, I also work with a lot of buyers. So I have a lot of insight into kind of what goes on at the different levels of government. We mostly work with local governments and state governments, but I also have some knowledge of federal opportunities as well. So I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of that with you, Bidnet Direct and government bids, and then how our buyers, which I think is really important, see your business, because we've all probably heard about these huge solicitations and opportunities that are out there. But there's also other, what we call informal or quick quotes that go on in government spend. And I think that a lot of you may have some opportunities there as well with your, local counties, cities, villages, airports, etc. Maybe not for those huge contracts to, have the concession in the Denver airport, but also for some smaller government spend that goes on a daily basis. So then we're going to walk through together how to register for Bidnet Direct and some terms to know. And I think then we're going to take a little break. And then we're actually going to get online. I'm going to show you, it looks like right now I pulled up in Texas and Colorado. I know that the opportunity that was originally hoped to be talked about and looked at is not going to be open, I think, going to be out for bid until October. But I think we have about 12 catering opportunities right now open. So I'm going to take you through how to search for those, how to find those. And then once you do find something that you're interested in, what to do with that information, and eventually how to respond if you are interested in responding through electronic bid submission. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about the different packages, because I know once you register on Bidnet Direct, it can be kind of confusing. Well, what do I want to do? And then, of course, we'll have an open time for Q&A. But at any point in time, if someone has a question, I couldn't hear you guys extremely well, even when you were on the microphone, unfortunately. But if someone has a question, just stop me, or Michelle or someone else, just kind of tell me to be quiet and get the question there. All right, without any further ado, Bidnet Direct, basically what we do is we take and connect local and state and federal government agencies that are looking for suppliers to fulfill a requirement that they have in goods, services, or construction. And we connect those buyers and those solicitations with suppliers. So in all of these states that are red here, including Colorado, we have active government buyers who log into Bidnet Direct, sometimes on a daily basis, a lot of them, sometimes on a weekly basis, to do all of their supplier or vendor management, to issue all of their solicitations, to award their solicitations, and some of them even do the evaluation and all the way down to the contract and vendor performance piece of their jobs through Bidnet Direct. So what this means for you all is that you have exclusive access to all of these open solicitations and all of the related documents on Bidnet Direct. And you have these for all of these participating agencies, whether you only do business within the state of Colorado, or you've moved out to Wyoming or New Mexico, or even down to Texas or Oklahoma, based on how you're growing and what you want to do. So you have access to this, and any of our participating agencies, you have access to that data for free. So you do have to register, but there is no charge to submit a bid response, to download documents, to look at solicitations. And it's up to you kind of to make a choice on whether you want to do that and register for free, or whether it's worth $108 investment per year to get a few little other added bonuses, which include alerting you of notifications so you don't have to log in every day, alerting you of any addendum attached to that, and some other stuff. So we'll get into that later, but all of these states' information can give you a wealth of information, not only for existing and current open bids, but you can also do searches, and I'll show you how when we get online, for past bid opportunities from these participating agencies. So you can get an idea in a specific region, even down to a county level within Colorado, how many solicitations are there out there for catering in a given year, in a given 3-year period. Do some research, is this government bidding thing something that is going to really take off for me, or do I need to kind of focus on what I'm focusing on now and use this as an add-on to supplement and to get the word out throughout the community? So here are just some of our participating agencies that we've added in the past couple of months. So you can see up here the town of Hudson, but they're throughout the country, because we get new on almost a daily basis. It's more like a weekly basis. We get new participating agencies that are joining us. If you do decide to get notified of open solicitations, then you will get an email basically within minutes of that bid opening. When the government agency logs on and says, hey, I have this catering opportunity for our winter festival, and I need people who are interested in having their food trucks set up there, etc. It's going to be a guaranteed 10-15,000 people, blah blah blah. So that information will come out through an email to your registered email address. You will see all of that little information. So the title, which is just a brief summary description, who that buying organization is. So if it's the city of Lakewood, if it's the county of Denver, if it's the airport, etc., you're going to see who that is. And then a brief description, as well as a really important date, which is the closing date. So you can see this one is already closed, but this would be, usually depending on the solicitation and depending on the size of the procurement, it can be anywhere from, just a few days of a closing period of time, but it can be all the way up to like a year for some really big procurements. But most of them, I would say, are in the 30 to maybe 45-day range that closing date's going to be there. And that's really important, because as soon as that closing date happens, you can no longer submit a bid. You can no longer do anything related to that. There's no being late. There's no not having everything in on time. That is the most important thing. If you're going to take anything away from government, is that you have to get in your bid response, your proposal for whatever that is that they're looking for, on time. You cannot be 1 minute late, or else they're not allowed to accept it, and you will have no opportunity to get that. So that's the big difference between government and dealing with the consumer or local businesses on a B2B selling basis. Is although I know that all of you try to be as on time as possible with your proposals, if you say, I'll get that to you tomorrow by end of business day, a proposal for that, and something comes up and you don't get it until the following morning, usually that's not a deal breaker. For government, it is. And then this email will then have this link to a solicitation in which you follow it and go and see all of the further details. So all the documents attached to that, basically all of the requirements that that government agency is needing. Any questions on that before I get on? I'm going to go into the details more of a solicitation in a bit, but any questions on the notification piece? Okay. So in addition to those participating agencies, we also have a team at Bidnet that goes out and finds all.
Can you hear me, Kim? Sorry.
Oh, I can now. Yes.
My question on the notification. So you can put in there like the agencies that you specifically want notifications from, or a geographic area you want notifications from, and then you pick like I want it for food related or something.
Kind of. So right now for the notification piece, it's really Colorado and Wyoming, but yes, on the catering piece. When we get inside the site, I can show you how you can do searches related to just specific government agencies. So if you don't want to deal with, Aurora, but you want to only deal with, these three in this county, then I can show you how to do that. And then you would just kind of ignore any of those emails that came in that were related to you, or you could say, oh, geez, well, I thought I didn't want to do Aurora, but man, this is right up my wheelhouse. And so I'm willing to make the drive.
Okay. And then the other question, it was a good question. It just left my brain. It was a really good one. Oh, do you have a sense, can you tell us like how many catering opportunities came up in the past year, or maybe last year is not a good example, but say from 2019, so we could get a sense of whether it's really worth it to, if 2 are coming through, or 15 or 25, or what the volume is.
Yep, and I'm going to show you how you can actually do that yourself as well. So yeah, when we get online, I will show you how you can do that.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so in addition to all those, we also have that, like I was saying, that team of researchers that goes out and gets all of the open solicitations from the non-participating agencies. So for example, in Colorado, I believe we have 340 local governments and state government agencies that are utilizing the platform, the Bidnet Direct platform, to issue all of their open solicitations and award their solicitations. However, there are more than 330 agencies throughout the state. And so all of the other ones, our team goes out and gets. They either scour the newspapers, go to each individual website of that government, or there's a method of other ways they do it, and they combine that and aggregate that data and also issue it and post it on Bidnet Direct. And that is called our statewide service. So that would be if you got into this, I wouldn't specifically expect you to, well, I guess I don't know the size of your business, but I'm guessing that the majority of you may think that's too big of a leap to go from 0 to 1,000 kind of thing. But it's there, the opportunity is there when at the point in your business you're ready. And you can always see what's out there. You just will not be able to see the details of these solicitations, of the non-participating buyer solicitations, unless you purchase our statewide program. So those come a little differently because there tend to be more of those sometimes. Because, you know, again, we're talking about, although 330 is a lot, it's not everybody. And so those come in a one day, you know, any solicitations that happen. Now, on the catering side of things, this is just a guess from me. I'm guessing that it's different than like on the construction side of things for HVAC. Right now, everybody's doing HVAC stuff. And so an HVAC supplier may have, which is like your air handler and things like that, may have, you know, 20 of these a week, you know, so every day they're getting, you know, 5 or 6 different open solicitations, especially depending on if you're a professional service and you go nationwide, you're definitely going to have multiple of these a day. And so for that reason, we kind of put them all into one email for you. Okay, so now I want to show you, well, before I get into this what buyers see piece, I want to tell you that even if we don't find a whole lot of open solicitations, which, like I said, I believe there's 12 right now open in Colorado and Texas. So the 2 states that I kind of selected to show you all. So I know they're out there. But in addition to those open solicitations, we also, our buyers utilize Bidnet Direct for, I think I mentioned this before, quick quotes. So if I have an event that I'm doing for my procurement department, or we have something that we're doing internally because we're welcoming the team back, you know, every other Friday in our local county office, everybody's coming in for you know, a luncheon and the lunch and learn, and we're doing something there. And I in procurement have been said, okay, we need to get food for that. You know, we're going to have 150 of our staff in here, plus, you know, 300 of our maintenance crew stopping by throughout. So we need to find a caterer for that afternoon. The government's going to pay for it. You know, it's going to be, you know, we have a budget of $5,000, which is under their threshold of usually of what they would need to go out and get a formal bid for. So they wouldn't need formal responses for something. Depends, sometimes some agencies it's under $5,000, some it's under $10,000, some it's even under $100,000, especially if you're talking about in different industries like the IT industry. So in this case, a buyer would go onto Bidnet Direct and would look up, similar to how we are going to be looking up for solicitations, they would look up caterers in a specific region, and they would see a list of those. And so I'm going to show you, kind of pretend like this is caterers, but they're not. I think they're going to see Bidnet Direct. So this is what they would see. They see a list of all of our suppliers here. And then I can go just into Colorado. I can go, let's just say I want to say Arapahoe County or whatever. I can pick my filter here as a buyer. And then I can scroll over and look at any of these suppliers. So I'm going to do a search up here for a specific name of a company so I can show you once I've found that. I'm going to show you Bidnet Direct here. I can see all of this information, what I do, you know, products, highlights, any kind of what we call one pagers or information on, like, so your menus, etc. And then you can scroll down as a buyer and I can see all of this information, including your ethnicity, your W-9, and if you're certified to do, you know, as a small business, etc. I can also see all the categories. So that's those codes we were talking about, as well as any of your contacts. So if it's more than just you, you can add more contacts with our notification options. I can also see any history and if you've gotten notified of any of my other solicitations I've had in the past. So this allows the buyer to come in and kind of just get a snapshot of your business. Then knows that you are open to doing business with the government and can then call you up or easily email you straight here from this information and find out and get a quick quote from you for this event. So that's kind of one of the ways. In addition, all of this information also shows up when you do download documents from a buying organization. And of course, when you do submit a bid response. And also, if you are notified of a solicitation, then they can see that information. They can also use this oftentimes if they want to send out a notification and they check and your company is not on the list who's going to get notified, either because you didn't pay for it, the $108, or because maybe you're in a different region, you know, so maybe this is someone in Oklahoma, but they look and they see you and they say, oh gosh, that would just be perfect. They can actually go and add you based on your codes and your location and other information to be notified of that open solicitation, as well as just, you know, the quick quote calling. So I want to just show you how buyers see supplier information here on Bidnet Direct as well. I know I just went through a lot of data, so I apologize. I'm not used to working with, I probably should have done this a tiny bit backwards and differently with some of the keywords first with people who haven't ever worked with government. But any questions on that piece before we move on?
I have a question. So you shared that when they're searching for a vendor, they use the word caterers. Are there any other keywords that they would use?
Oh, yes, there's lots of keywords. So I will show you that. I'm using the word caterer because that is what I'm using. But normally what happens is that I would guess they would say caterer, food service, you know, I'm not really sure, but there is something called Nigp codes, which I think, oh, that's perfect, leads us right into this. Nigp codes is the category codes that's used by buying organizations. So it's an industry standard in local and state government. It's a 5-digit code, and there's about, I think, 7,900 and some odd of these. And they're down to very specific type of, again, product or service or construction product or service. So the services are in the number 9,000s. So that's what all the services. So there's food services in there, there's catering services, there's food rinsing services. I mean, there's kind of like everything you would ever imagine there being in there. And so our buying organizations go in and either know their code because they've used it before, or they can do a search for a code just like you can to find a connection and to find a supplier that meets that. So, and these codes are part of the registration process, which we're going to get to in a minute. And it's how you get matched or sent an opportunity by that participating agency. So we're going to kind of get into this so you all can do some searching around. I looked right before this meeting specifically for some keywords and found some there. You know, it also depends on if you all, you know, sell without catering, you know, if you sell, like, I think someone said box lunches, you know, so is that something that, you know, if a community service is looking for someone to hand out, you know, every Tuesday kids lunches over the summer because they are not, you know, because the county is feeding them during the summertime, something like that. So there are things like that. There's also just food in there. So there's all kinds of food. There's organic food. There's specific types of food. There's also food tools. I mean, there's all kinds of things that the government buys, things that you wouldn't even imagine. But they do on every level, from local all the way up to the federal government. Hopefully that answered your question. We're going to get into it in just a second if there's no other questions. All right, and so this is, does everybody have their computers with them?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So is everybody on bidnetdirect.com or not?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So you can either go to Google and just type in Bidnet Direct, or you can go to BIDNET direct.com. So I guess I'll start here too. Has anyone already registered with Bidnet Direct just on their own?
Yes.
Okay.
I-
So at least one person, you don't have to redo this because if you find in going through this registration process that, oh, I didn't do that, then we can always go back and I'll show you how you can go back and modify your profile. So this screen is the home page, right? So you can do searches here for keywords or bid title, but you're not going to be able to access any documents until you register. And the reasoning for that is because, as I showed you, our buyers can actually see who's downloaded documents, and they use that information to go back to their board of directors or go back to their county commissioners and extract data from that. So for example, if I put out a solicitation and you were interested in it and you downloaded the documents, and there was 5 other people who were interested in it too, and they downloaded those documents, but yet I got 0 responses. Then my county commissioners are going to talk to me and say, well, what did you do? We've gotten no response for this. And then I can say, well, I actually had 5 people, 20 people were notified, 5 were interested and downloaded the documents, but I had no responses. And so I took the time, county commissioners, and went back and called those 5 and found out why they didn't put it in bid response. And I found out that this whatever that we were looking for doesn't exist actually. So I have to go and rewrite this with the help now of these suppliers who were interested. I'm going to rewrite it so it makes sense and it's something that they want to respond to and they want to put in their proposal. So that's why it's really important that you register, and you can't download or see all the information until you do so. So this big orange button at the top that says vendor registration, you hit that. And this is where you're going to come up to those options. So that limited, that is that $0. That $9 a month is that $108 option. And then the 36 and 45 are those larger state or state and federal options. So for now, you make the decision, the limited or the group, you select one of those tiles, just like I did here. And then you're going to add your state. So, so Colorado and Wyoming, as I said, are kind of combined, and I'll tell you about that later. But right now, the majority, 95% of the opportunities are going to be in Colorado, but there is also Wyoming stuff because of the border and because of the buying organizations in these 2 states have joined forces and are kind of part of what they call RMGPA, which is their government purchasing association, is those 2 states. And so they want them to be combined. So you select that. If you also wanted any other state, you could either type it in there. So, if you did want Oklahoma or anything else, you go ahead and just select that as well, and then press confirm, and you should have whatever states you selected down here. And you can always see your pricing information right here. So if you did pick the group, you would see that you're paying for 2 different ones, Oklahoma or Colorado and Wyoming. And if you say, oh, well, I was just kind of interested in Oklahoma just for whatever is going on there, I don't want that one. So you can get rid of it. And now there's that $108 for Colorado and Wyoming. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to scroll down a tiny bit and save and continue, and then put in all of your personal information. Remember, this is information that buying organizations are going to see. So please don't put in something fake here unless you want that associated with your business. So I'll give you a couple minutes to fill out these connection details. And then once you've done your personal and connection details, you can press that agree to the terms and services, but don't go any farther than that yet, because I want to chat with you before. All right, is everybody done entering in their information?
Yes.
Perfect. So the next option that you are going to see after you've agreed to the terms and services and the conditions, you can read that, but it's basically saying that you agree you are not going to turn around and resell this information, that government agencies do have access, that any download and documents that you downloaded or bid response may become part of government public information that they're sending out to other people. So there's all of that types of information in there. If you need to, you can read that, but it's pretty standard. This standout from the competition, this is optional. If you do not want it, you can just simply remove it by clicking that little toggle. If you do want it, this is what shows up with your logo, those sell sheets and one pagers, your menus and things like that, when buyers are actually looking at your profile on Bidnet Direct. So that's for the year, but you can remove that. I'm going to just go up here real quickly and remove and switch back to this so I can show you that if you have nothing in your cart, it's going to tell you a subtotal of 0. And then that credit card information goes away, and you just simply press finalize the registration. I am having some crazy technical issues here, so I'm going to stop sharing real quickly and see if I can figure out what is going on with my PowerPoint. So once you guys do that, within about a minute or so, you should receive an email. So if you have also whatever if your Gmail, your Outlook, anything like that, if you go there within a few minutes, you should be receiving an email confirmation. When you have that, you're going to click on the activate my account link, and I'm hoping to show you here in just a second if I can pull my PowerPoint back up. However, and then you're going to need to know your username and password that you just set up. So has anyone not received their email yet? I can't see you guys. So if anyone has not received their email, speak up. Okay, perfect. So when you click on that, it's going to bring you to this little screen here that says enter the username and password. You do that. And then it's going to bring you to this step that's called category code selection. So this is what we were talking about before. That is about your business. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. You can type in the word. So for example, if everyone just types in the word caterer right now.
I need a little time because I need to put the organization address. Ask me for that before I go to category selection. I don't know why. But... Yeah.
I could
Well,
not understand that question if that was geared towards me.
No, yes, we just need little time to fill some other information that they are asking us here, so we can go to the next step.
Okay.
A little more time.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that. I thought we were all caught up. I apologize.
So Kim, I have a question before.
Yes.
So I had already set up my.
Yes.
So if I want to go back to update my codes, or I don't want to jump in front of you, but if I want to go back to update the codes like caterer that you're speaking about,
Yep.
how would I do that?
So if you're already logged into the system, you're going to see this little guy up top. It looks like a little dot with with his shoulders, like just a and you click on that and you should see a My Organization.
Okay.
If you click on the My Organization and scroll down towards the bottom, you will see something very similar to what I'm showing on or I was showing on the screen as far as the code selection. And there's a little edit pencil right next to it. And you just click on that, and that's where you will be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It is much easier to show people than to verbally walk them through a little guy and a pencil and all kinds of things. So I'm glad you understood my instructions there.
Is everybody ready?
All right, so is everybody ready? I'm so sorry, I missed if we actually were or not. Okay, perfect. All right, so you are now going to see a screen that I'm going to get to. I figured I would just go to inside the site myself and update my codes as well, so I can kind of walk you through. But if you're at the point with the codes, then yours will look slightly different, but it'll look very similar to this right here, which it'll have a search and it'll have all these category codes. So if you'll do me a favor and just type in the word, you just kind of cater right there. CATER. And I know this does not fit everybody, but I just want to show you this one because it's kind of an easy one that only has a couple. So if you just select this box because this is concessions, catering, vending, mobile, and stationary services. And this one is food trucks and mobile catering carts. So from my understanding of when you all introduced yourselves, this should fit one of these two, if not both of these should fit each of you. But if you disagree, you know your business much better than I do. But if you wanted to add those, then you simply select them just like that. And then they're going to show up in here as some new selected ones. And then you can do another search for food. Now, this is where you're going to have a ton more, unless you actually sell food itself, not pre-prepared, not prepared, or any kind of preparation utensils or anything else. Then I would scroll as far as you can to the bottom, and you may have to do it a couple of times until again you get to the 9,000s, because right now I'm only at 3,700 here. So I want stuff that starts with 9, but see, we have eggs, We have egg mixes. We have all kinds of stuff in here. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, now I'm getting into 6400s, which include food storages, food processing, food wrapping. And now I am at the 9,000s again. So it may take you a little bit to get here. So I'll give you a few more seconds. But this is where other something else that I think might, concessions, airport food, if that would be you as well. You can also look through food service consulting, if you offer that, then you can go ahead and check that off. If you offer, you're probably not offering canning equipment, childcare services, including the food problem, probably not. If emergency food, food stamps or coupons, supplemental food services, food management services, mental health, including food services is probably not you, food administrative services or food preparation. And then there is also distribution and collection of waste food for animals, processing services, food not otherwise classified. I would select that one just so you can see if anything is set up. Or food distribution services, you may want to click that too, because you may not fully be on that, but you may be able to partner with someone who is. And I'll show you how you can see that stuff too. But I'll give you a few minutes to look through and make the decision for yourself. And then of course you can always come back to this as well. This is not the end all be all.
Can I ask a question? Is there more like a detailed description of each category that actually tells us what's like each category actually include?
No, because it's really, so these are categories, the industry standard for these categories, and then it's really the agency themselves who selects. They're doing the same thing that you are. So I would suggest having more than less, and then you can always get rid of some of them if you're like, oh my gosh, no, this is not what I mean. And also when we go in and I show you open solicitations and closed solicitations, if you find some that match, I'm going to show you how to look at what codes were attached to that solicitation. So then you can go back and say, oh, I didn't even think to look up that. Okay, I'm going to definitely add that code to my solicitation, to my profile.
Thank you.
But really, it is the buyer's discretion, right? So it is what they think to use for that solicitation. All right, are we ready to, and when you're done, you simply press continue or next. I forget what the button says now. And just remember too, that you can always go back to this and look, and it might actually even be beneficial after we've gone through the some of the searches and you all actually spend a few minutes looking for things that you will know what other types of codes you may want to put in there. Am I good to move on with this next selection or no?
I just have a quick question. Do we
Sure.
add 9 now?
So you can, so you're already on this section here then, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay. So you can, if you have it. If not, then you can always go back online and add it as at a later date. So the reason that a lot of buyers like you to have your W-9 there is for those quick quotes or other things. It just gives them an easy place to go, and because they're always going to need the W-9 form. Now, if in a solicitation, they also request your W-9 form, please don't skip it just because it's already in your profile, because that's part of the bid packet information that they're looking for as well. And they just kind of want it all in one place. But I would suggest uploading it, but you do not have to do it right now. You can always come back and do that. There's only one state, I believe, that is absolutely required for you to upload it immediately, and I think that's New Jersey. So as long as you did not register to get access to solicitations in New Jersey, you should be good to leave it blank. But since we've already moved on to here, this is where you're going to pick up your business structure, your owner ethnicity, and your business type. You can click as many of these as are applicable to your business. Our buyers actually use this information, so don't put something that isn't true. So there are certain set asides and other funding opportunities for specific minorities or women-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses within government. So for example, some may actually have a set aside where there is a specific, 5% of all of our X related projects have to be won by someone who is a disadvantaged business, women-owned business, minority-owned business. Some have other things where they open it up to everyone. However, if you are a woman-owned business, a minority-owned business, other disadvantaged business is what they call them, a DBE, then you actually get like a boost in when they're doing the evaluation process. So if your pricing is slightly above someone else's, then that's okay because you're a woman-owned business, and so you actually get more points. Like your price is lower in their eyes because you got X percentage off or X percentage more added on to your weight of your awesomeness because you fit one of these buckets. I did not explain that very well at all, so please let me know, because they don't have the percentage of awesomeness, but that was the best way for me to describe it. So be truthful about this. You're also going to see these questions you will not see, again, unless you did New York, but you will see a question on I believe it's related to the city and county of Denver, which is, are you a DBE, or do you have your ID number for being a DBE specifically registered with them? If you don't have that information right now, again, you can always go back and update it at a later date. When you are done with that, that's your last section, then you just press the activate button, and then boom, your activation is confirmed, and you can click on the start looking for solicitations, which we will get into after a short break here soon. I'm back, if everybody else is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so before we get into what I know you all want to see, and you probably are already looking at, because now you all have registered and can log in, I wanted to go over a couple of terms to know. One is purchasing group. So as I've talked about the different states, you'll see once you're logged in, a filter in the search that's called purchasing group. Those are groups, usually it's in regions by state. So we have like the Texas purchasing group, the Oklahoma purchasing group. As I mentioned before, Rocky Mountain RMGPA was formed by a group of buying organizations that started with 7 from Colorado and Wyoming, and it's now grown to 330 that are using it, who wanted their own place that mimicked what their association, their government purchasing association was like. So it had the 2 states. So that one is not called the Colorado and Wyoming purchasing group. It's called the Rocky Mountain e-Purchasing System. Or you may hear some buyers, if you are out and about in the community, call it RMEPS, RMEPS. So I want to tell you that. The big thing, especially if you're new to government selling, is formal versus informal. So a formal solicitation will be anything that is published and is solicited through Bidnet Direct, that is part of a formal bidding process, which means usually it's above that threshold average. So you may see some solicitations listed that are informal, but most of the informal solicitations are done by picking up the phone and asking you for a quote, or shooting you an email and asking you for a quick quote, and not through a formal process. Those are usually saved for the larger ticketed items or the longer term contracts. So for example, if I am a county and I need someone who is going to do all my catering at all of my events for the next 3 years, as long as I give them a 14-day window or whatever that is, that anytime they can have that food and services ready, then that would be more of a formal solicitation. Whereas if I'm calling because I'm the county and I need that set up for, the end of August for something in our county offices for 200 people, then I'm going to then just pick up the phone or shoot out an email and get a quick quote from you. So hopefully that makes sense between formal and informal. Each buying organization, so each government has their own set of rules. In Colorado, most of them are like the local law policy. And so even down to the city, they may have different rules for what is a formal versus informal solicitation. You'll also see a lot of acronyms or hear a lot about an RFP, an RFQ, an RFI, an ITB. There's a ton of them. The definitions are there online. I'll show you when we get online. But it's usually a request for proposal, request for quote, request for information. So this one, it kind of usually becomes before either a quote or a proposal, and is more informal. They're just requesting information so that they can have it on file for future needs, for future quotes, for future things. So there's all kinds of those out there. This EBS, you may hear people say, which is electronic bid submission. That is, there used to be, government was always behind, as many of you know, especially in technology. And so you used to have to put your proposal together and mail it off to them via FedEx, or drop it by their office by 4 p.m. on Friday, or whatever that was. And that proposal sometimes you had to have 5 copies of it all stapled together. It was kind of crazy. But now that we have electronic bid submission, the majority of our buying organizations do use that. And the acronym for that is EBS. So is there anything else that either I've mentioned or that you've heard when you've heard about government procurement or government purchasing that you'd like to know what it is, and I will try to help you out?
Good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now on to the fun stuff. So now we're going to get online. So I'm going to go switch back to here. And hopefully now you guys can see my screen again. I'm going to go through real quickly the your screen is going to look different than mine for a couple of reasons. One, because I have the paid account, and so I have this save search here. And so I can, and also I have every state and not just Colorado and Texas. So since you all just have Colorado, I'm going to go, I think at least most of you, I'm going to go ahead and take off that Texas stuff. And I'm just going to have Colorado so that at minimum, you can search for this. So if you type in the word catering up top in this search bar right here, you all should get this same search that I have now, which is these 2 open solicitations. So I'm going to explain these numbers on top, but I'm going to add back Texas real quickly. This is the total number of bids that match catering within whatever I have selected, which happens to be location right now. This member agency bids, those are those people that are participating. So I can just go to those. These state and local are those non-participating, but still at the state and local levels within those 2 states. And this federal is a federal opportunity that's available again, within that region of one of those 2 states. So those are the difference of those numbers you see there. But right now, if you all typed in catering, you should see these 2 open solicitations. Does everybody see them?
Yes.
All right, so let's click on Denver Tasty Foods program. Now, again, this may have nothing to do, and you all probably with your businesses would not have be able to respond to this, but I want to show it to you so I can show you how a solicitation, any kind of solicitation, will look on our system. So if you see that big kind of greenish blue box that says time left to bid, 3 days, 3 hours, 39 minutes. This is the most important thing. As we were talking about before, this is going to show you how much time is left before you have to submit your bid. And so if I can tell you anything, never let this get below the 1 hour mark. Always give yourself more time than that before you press that place bid. Because if something happens, if your internet goes out, if, you know, whatever the case may be, just don't ever let yourself get down to less time than that, because if you have spent the time you know, answering questions and or putting pricing together for a large proposal, the last thing you want to do is have spent that time and then it doesn't get submitted and you are not allowed to bid on it. There's a couple of things right here. We're going to get to place bid in a few minutes, but that is where you would place a bid. There's also this download button that's going to download all of the documents that are attached to the solicitation. And there's something called follow. That's going to be if you were interested in this Denver Tasty Foods program and you want to follow that solicitation, you would just press, I want to follow and receive addendum. So addendum are amendments or addendum to that solicitation. Now, as a free person, you may not be able to do this. It depends on the buying org. You may have to upgrade to the $108 package in order to receive those addendum notification of it. But if there are addendum and you're not paying, you can always log back on and see if there's any addenda. There's going to be another tab here that's going to say addendum. So oftentimes this will happen when there's a change either to the requirements of what they're looking for or a change in the closing date. So if they're pushing out the closing date, a change to, there may be an open questions and answers period in which suppliers can ask questions about that, you know, that solicitation, that opportunity. And so any changes like that may be in an addendum. And you'll want to know that before obviously you place your bid, because some of those things could change. You know, if all of a sudden they went from, you know, give me catering options for every other Friday for, all of 2023 to deliver X amount to our offices in 3 different locations, and then they change that to 6 different locations. That's something that is going to thoroughly change your bid response. And so you're going to want to know that information. There's also a print button. So if you do want to print all the information that's here, you can. So on this is what we call an abstract, so just the basic solicitation. You're going to have everything about this solicitation. So who is issuing it? It's the City and County of Denver, their General Services Purchasing Department. What type of solicitation it is. So we just talked about this, the request for proposal, and this is a formal one. So it says it right there, RFP - request for proposal formal. Then this kind of solicitation number and source ID, that's really all internal to the buying organizations. You're going to see the details of the location of this, if it's a one-time only purchase or if it's an ongoing term, where the delivery point is, so where it's expected to be delivered. The piggyback, does anyone know what a piggyback contract is? Okay, so this one is not a piggyback contract, but if it said yes, that means that by you saying that you're giving this, I don't know anything about this program yet, but let's just say that this Denver Tasty Food Programs is supplying all of the fresh fruit to our schools. And if that's piggybackable, what that means is any other buying organization within Colorado could take that same pricing and could ask you, now it wouldn't be a guarantee, but then could say, hey, I would like to also do this, and I'm going to piggyback off of Colorado's contract with you so that I don't have to go out and do another one of these formal solicitations and get bids. I'm just going to go directly to you, the supplier that has the contract with the City and County of Denver. So that's what piggyback means, that other government agencies can piggyback off of the work that the county or the city has already done in order to have a fair purchasing process in place. They've already done that work. They've done that fair purchasing process, and now other organizations can piggyback off of it. But the original buying organization has to say that that's a piggybackable contract, and you, the supplier, have to agree that it's a piggybackable contract. This section here, these dates, they're just all the dates. So the publication, when questions are going to be accepted by, when the closing date is, if the questions are submitted online, yes or no, etc. And then this contact information is important. So this is the buyer usually, and or this is the department head for anything related to this solicitation. Now, oftentimes, especially if this says questions are submitted online, yes, bids are submitted online. If you send Elizabeth an email, she's going to say, yes, you're going to need to submit that question online, or yes, but you're going to need to place your bid online. But it's also a good way, as I'll show you when you're looking at closed solicitations, to reach out and potentially, send your menu and do some marketing directly to the buyers that are related to food services or other buyers within that, for your industry within that buying organization. Because someone like the City and County of Denver has multiple buyers that all wear different buckets. So the person who is buying for their construction is probably not the person who's buying for food services, food management. And then it's going to have a brief description. So the City and County of Denver desires to solicit proposals related to the purchase of food service management company to prepare and deliver food for Denver's Tasty Food Program. This RFP is only for the 2022-2023 school year. If there's any requirements here, so this is federally funded. This is an all or none award, which means that they're not going to give a portion of the contract to one supplier and another portion to another supplier. It's all or none. So you're either going to get awarded the entire contract or nothing at all. If there's any bonding requirements or other insurance requirements, it will be listed here as well. And then what the bid submission process is. So it will be either be electronic bid submission, physical bid submission, or it may be electronic bid submission or physical bid submission. And then it's going to tell you what the pricing is. So this could be line item, this could be per person, this could be lump sum, and then any bid documents. And then if there's any additional information, it says see main document for information, which is usually what it's going to be. And then this category. So a lot of you asked before, how do I know if I picked the right categories or where can I see? This categories, if you do searches for things, this categories is going to tell you what that buyer selected as their matching categories for this. So they're looking for perishable foods, food staples, consulting services such as food service consulting. So this, human services, childcare services, including the food program, delivered meals, emergency food, Head Start program, etc. And then you're going to see all of the related documents. Oh, sorry, I'm going to go back to this real quickly. So this is where, let's just say this was something you were interested in. You would look at this and you would say, oh, you know what? I actually didn't have this food distribution services. So I'm just going to take this code here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my little guy, which is right up here. I'm going to go to my organization and I'm going to add that to my codes. These documents, so again, you can either download them all or you can download them one by one. And these are all the documents. I'm not going to do this now, or else I would show up on this document request list, which this is a good place to partner up, to find potential partners, to look and see, who else is interested in this solicitation. As a supplier, you can look and you can see all of these different companies. You can see their names, their main contact, when they downloaded the first document. You can click here and the information that you see is not as robust as the information the buyer sees, but you can get their contact information and their website to see if there is any kind of collaboration there, anything that, you may be able to partner with them on. If you know that, the Healthy School Food Collaboration does a great job at, providing the food, but they don't have the food trucks or the hot meal trucks, that, so you can call and offer your services if they win this contract, or any other contract, to offer that to help them, as for a partnership for a piece of the money. And then this audit here, that just is going to tell you anytime anything was published. So this is when the original solicitation was published. If there's any kind of addendum, it will be here, as well as any kind of closing information or award information will be here. So any questions about the actual sections of the solicitation? Okay. So I'm going to go back out to the search here. And did someone say, hold on one sec? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So I'm going to go back and filter to just Colorado so I can see what you guys see. And I'm going to, up here under status, I'm going to switch it to close solicitations. So I still have my catering word in here. I'm not sure if you all do too, but if you want to go to catering and then close solicitations. You can look here and see all of the recent. So it's automatically defaulted by closing date of the related solicitations that pop up. So for example, the city of Durango here was just looking for food truck concession services at Lake Nighthorse. That has already closed. However, if you want to go in and look at those details, you can do so. So you can go in, you can see, okay, so they selected that concessions catering, the food trucks and mobile catering carts. You can look at those documents just to see, again, you can't bid, it's closed. So, but you can just see, you know, what was what. You can look at if there were any open Q&As, which there were not. You can look and see who, so there's only 2 people who actually even downloaded this document. So you can see that, and neither of them were in Colorado. So if you had bid on this, then, you know, you probably would have had a really good chance to win. So you can see all of that information here. I'm just going to go back out. So I would suggest that you click on that closed solicitations and do some keyword searches and just kind of take the time to scroll through. But this is how you can get an idea of how much is out there. So if instead of catering, for example, you wanted to, I know at least one of you said food truck. So you could say, I want to look at the closed solicitations and food truck. And you could see that in Colorado, there are 178, 3 state and local and 0 federal. So it's much more in the smaller local or agencies that are looking for these types of things. So you can see there's a Denver International Airport annual employee picnic. They were looking for food truck and caterer for. There's all these different things that you can see have happened, and you can look at the closing date to get an idea of when they closed. I believe this filter is open to you, but I don't remember. As a free person, you can also say, I want to look within the last 2 years, right? So you can change this date here to 2 years ago, and you can end it today.
Kim, we can't see that anymore. I used to just see the closed one.
Okay, so we were
So I don't know why that
just
changed.
right?
Hello?
Okay, so you can't even click on this closed right here.
No.
Close.
And I have used that feature before
you
with my
can't.
free account. And so that's gone.
Okay, so everything I was just doing, you haven't been able to follow along with. Oh my goodness.
Right.
We saw you on the.
But we did see your screen though.
Well, that shouldn't be. So that's a bug that no one's told me about before, because you should 100% be able to go into see the closed solicitation. So you can't even click on this little closed button right here.
Right, and tell us that we need to upgrade your plan.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take note of that, because that might just be a bug, especially since you said you used to be able to do that and now you can't. So let me get back to you guys on that, on why that is, because as far as I was aware, that was you should still be able to, this closing date, maybe not, but actually looking at all closed solicitations, you should be able to 100%.
I have a question. I think you mentioned this before, but we could go in, for example, look at a closed one there for DIA's annual employee picnic. It's closed, but we could see that contact, and potentially a caterer could just send a marketing email to that person. Is that legit?
You could, you want to be careful, especially this close, right? I mean, you could, but yes, you 100% could just send a marketing and say, like, you know, Leanne, if you have any future, you know, needs for food trucks or catering, you know, I'm right in your area, let me know, look, you know, and they will add it to their list of suppliers, or you can also let them know that you're now on Bidnet Direct. And so they're looking forward to seeing any future of these solicitations moving forward, etc. You have to be careful, right? Like you know, I don't want to go out there and tell you to start spamming our buyers, because I don't want you to do that. But you can 100% look and see who sent this and make those connections. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's all about the connections you make. All right, well, I apologize about the whole closed solicitation things. I didn't know that. So if you, again, in my opinion, the $108 is well worth it for the year. However, if you do not feel like that is worth it and don't upgrade, then let me get back to you guys. I'll probably do it through through the organization, and they'll let you know when that will be fixed, and or you'll see it in an upcoming announcement now that you're all registered. But I will let you know, because that's not supposed to be that way. So that is, like I said, probably just a bug that came up recently. Because you should be able to search for those closed solicitations. You just won't have all of these other filters to be able to, I think this one, for example, you will not have to be able to pipe down that closing date, or some other ones that are only available for the paid services. And I know the saved search is only available for the paid services. So for that $108, and which you can have up to 50 different saved searches based on, you can go down to the county level here. If I wanted to view every county within Colorado and have different saved searches set up, for example, just in specific counties. So if I didn't want anything to do with these counties at all, then I could just search for those. So that advanced search I know is not available with the free. All right, so before we get into electronic bid submission, are there any other questions right now about the solicitations themselves? All right, so very quickly, the two things you really want to look at and know about here are the search, especially if you're set up for free. The save searches will not be there, nor will your matching profile will be your codes, but you won't get matched automatically with anything, and your bid management. So this bid management section is if you do place a bid submission, so reply to a bid electronically, this is where all those documents that you submitted will be housed. And if you need to make any changes to those before the closing date, or you need to retract them, they will be here in that bid management. Excuse me, also in report section right up here, this requested documents. This is a list of all of the documents that you have ever downloaded on the site. So if you go through, a bunch of the closed bids or even open bids, and then you kind of, at the end of the year, or you have a slow period of time and you're like, all right, let me look and see what types of food or what types of whatever food trucks these people are looking for. And so I can see, are there any changes that I need to make to my business if I want to continue on this government path that would be, more apt, so I could reply and respond to these. So you can always do research by looking up and kind of seeing all of your requested documents over the past 7 years, but you just registered today for the majority of you. So moving forward 7 years. And this is where you can always see all of our participating agencies. So these participating organizations, you simply click on it, and then you can go specifically to the Rocky Mountain Purchasing Group. And you can see all of the all of the participating agencies. They are in alphabetical order. So if you do not see, if you go through and you're like, I don't see this, Bay County or whatever, it's probably under the C's as the county of Bay. That's just how a lot of the name is. So if you don't see it where you think it should be, look in the C's, which is either going to be the bottom of page 1 or on page 2, sometimes 3, etc. So, here's Denver, but it's under the C's because it's the county of Denver, Office of Human Resources, airport, etc., etc. So you can click on any of these that you see, and this is going to take you to that specific buying organization's full page of all of their open solicitations. So let's just say that, well, this doesn't make sense because none of you, I don't think, live in an airport, but pretend like this was just a different city or a different county, and you just want to know where your taxpayer money is going and what are open solicitations in your area, what are different types of things, because your your sister or your brother or your husband or your wife owns another type of business and you're just interested, you can always go here and look at all of the open solicitations as well as closed solicitations as well. So, and then one other quick thing here is this, my profile, that's all about you. So that's your username, your password. My organization is about your business. So this is where you would come in and you would make any edits of things you didn't know about upon registration. So if you didn't upload your W-9, you would simply click on this little edit thing here, little pencil, and you would upload your W-9 form by clicking on that link, and then you would just press save. The same thing on if any of the codes you wanted to edit, add to, delete, you would simply edit that information. You can delete them from right here. Just delete, delete. You can do searching and add them from right here. And then again, just remember to press save after any changes that you've made, or cancel if you don't want those changes. And if you did add the advertising profile, then this is where you're going to upload and edit your logo, YouTube videos, menus, etc. right here. So that's all. And then if you want to ever add any other purchasing groups or any services, you can go in here and you can modify and add different states or change your so a notification package right here as well. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I know I just talked a whole lot before we get into electronic bid submission. How's everybody doing? Do you think you want to do electronic bid submission? Do you think you'd be better off just having me send you a quick FAQ for you all, because you're like, oh, I haven't even decided if I want to respond and work with the government? I guess I figured let's hear your feedback for a bit.
I think it'd just be nice to see it.
Okay.
That might help us to determine if we want to or not.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to say this for you're probably like, oh my gosh, does this lady even know what she's talking about? Because everything she's saying is it's up to the government buyer, but it really is. So electronic bid submission is going to look different, whether it's the city and county of Denver, or whether it's the city of Aurora, or it's whomever, because the buying organization themselves is setting up what is required and requested as optional to be submitted at the time at the closing date and time. So some people may just have, I need 500 empanadas, 300 sodas, and a 3-hour on-site presence, put it and eat. Yes.
Wait, so how did you even get to this page? What steps did
Oh,
you?
sorry. So that, I apologize. This is not online. I mean, this is online. So I have a link in the PowerPoint, but this is an FAQ section.
Oh,
So this
okay.
is not directly, I apologize about that. So I will, in fact, well, can you all get my, so I can't share without doing a couple other things. So in the PowerPoint, there's a link that says EBS FAQ guide. If you click on that, you will go to this page. So, so that is kind of the tricky part about this, is that I can show you what it looks like, and it walks you through each step, but every single agency and every single solicitation is going to look slightly different. So this FAQ page that you're going to get just walks you through what is an electronic bid submission. When do the buyers see it? So this piece is really important, that buyers don't see this until after the closing date and time. So if the closing date deadline is Friday at 4 p.m., they are not going to even know that you submitted anything until Friday at 4:01 p.m., let alone be able to see your response. So you can make any edits, changes, withdraw that, anything up until that closing point in time. So this also talks about the what should I do before I submit a bid. Obviously, as we talked about before, you'll want to follow a solicitation and make sure you get any addendum, because that could change your response. Once you've decided, okay, I've read all the documents, this is a perfect fit for me, I am going to submit a proposal. I know what information, because it's outlined in the documents, what information I will need. I've put all that together. Now I'm going to place a bid. So you are going to click on that place bid. It looks like a little gavel on the solicitation itself, and it's going to have this pop up. Excuse me. It's going to have the place a bid, and it's going to have a title and a reminder of the closing date and time. This will also be in your time zone, by the way. And then you're going to select a desired action. You place a new bid or place a no bid. Now, there are some of our buyers that require you to do this if you've downloaded a document. Most don't. But if you've downloaded a document, they're going to say, I need to know, are you planning on placing, do you have a bid intent of placing a bid or not placing a bid? And so after you've downloaded that, they're just trying to gauge what the interest level in this contract is. So if you are not interested in placing a bid, you would say I'm placing a no bid. But if you are, which we are in our little fictitious scenario here, you're going to place a new bid and then just press continue. And then you're going to see a screen, and let me see if I can make this a little bigger here. You're going to see a screen that looks like this, that you're going to be able to either drag and drop or browse for your files that buyer has requested. So if they've requested a copy of your menu plus a formal one-page proposal with the pricing and timeline of the day, you will know that already, and you will just upload those documents there. Some buyers will have a title of each document that they're requesting. So upload your menu here, upload your pricing information here, upload this here. Some will not. They'll just tell you only in the documents that you've downloaded and read. And then once you're done with that, you've uploaded all your documents that they know you need, any kind of insurance information, anything else that was required. And then it will go into the pricing. I'm sorry?
Because sometimes if your forms are not formatted correctly, it won't take it, which then prolongs you submitting your bid.
Well, that's correct.
Okay. So the question is, do the documents have to be a certain format like JPEG, or is it PDF, or does it matter when you upload them?
So that will be in the requirements provided by the buyer.
Okay.
Most of them will give you a template to use, like here's a Word document template, fill in your pricing. Or they could not even ask for a document like that, and they could just say, your documents, only documents that I need are your menu and your insurance information, and then put in pricing here as just one lump sum. Or it could be slightly different, and they could have this, that you download a template because they need each line item. So for empanadas, for Diet Coke, for Mountain Dew, for this, for that, as a separate line item. And so you download this template and you simply put in the pricing right next to it. And then you submit that and import it. So when I say that each one can be different, unfortunately, it's the truth. Based on what the solicitation is and how that buyer wants information, but you're going to know that before you get to this step, because those documents that you downloaded from the buyer outline what they're going to need are going to have all that in there. So they're going to tell you, you need to download this template and fill in your pricing and then re-upload it, and that's your submission. Or you need to provide us a document that is a PDF or Word filled out with all of this information. So they're going to be as specific as possible. And if they're not, then that's when that open question and answer period becomes that you ask that buyer, does it need to be in a Word or a PDF format? And then they'll let you know. So the most important thing, no matter how again, like I hate to say this, but we don't have a specific open bid right now that's like a perfect fit for you all to look at this. So you're going to have to trust me that it is very simple. There's a document section that will either say things that are required or optional, and there's a pricing section. Sometimes there might even be that pricing section because pricing will be a required document for you to update your pricing. But any way it looks, it explains to you what you need to do. And the most important piece to look at here is this bid not submitted. As long as you see this red bid not submitted, that means that nothing that you have done has actually gone through and been submitted. So until you see that actually turn green, so it says bid submitted, then you are not submitting, like it hasn't been submitted yet. So you really want that to be for you to look at that and not forget, because you'll also get like an email confirmation, etc. But I just don't want you so flustered that you end up not submitting the bid. But it's very simple. Once you have actually submitted and updated your proposal, then it moves on to this, does this bid contain exceptions, which again is kind of optional. But you know, that's where, yes, you can contain exceptions, like, you know, this won't be valid for any kind of, you know, holiday event or, you know, etc., whatever that is. And then you're going to need to say that you are compliant and that this is you are who you say you are. You submit that by just stating your full name and then your password for Bidnet Direct. And then you submit the bid. So you press that orange button that says submit bid. Then you're going to have to say one more time, yes, I really want to submit this bid. There will be a pop-up that says submission will make the bid active and submit it to the solicitation owner. Are you sure you want to proceed? And you say yes. And then you're good to go. And then, as always, 100%, you can always talk to our support team when you have questions. If you're in this process, my only suggestion is that you are not waiting until, again, the last minute. Because if our customer support team is on the phone with someone else, or, you know, there's 50 other people trying to submit different bids at the same time. So do not wait till the last minute, but we are here 100% to support you. So this is, oh, of course, did I do that wrong? So this is that link to that FAQ guide. So it's right here in this document. So when you get this, you'll just be able to click that and go right to that EBS, along with the important reminders here. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have that document yet from you, this PowerPoint, so if you'll email me that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So when you're, you can work on this, like I work on it today and I get a couple of the documents ready and then I can come back tomorrow to finish up, or?
Yes, 100%. You can save and quit, like save and come back to it. Let me go right back to, I guess it's not on here. But yeah, so there's a button like right next to, kind of on every step of the way in electronic bid submission, there's a save and quit. And that's where online, remember if I showed you that important thing to remember where under your solicitations, the bid management was, that's where your documents are going to, that's where that start of the bid submission is going to be. When you click on this, it's going to show you, okay, this is in draft status right now. And so you just simply go, well, this one is closed, so it's not going to do anything, but you would just go edit, like edit and continue would show up here. But because this is closed, it's not showing up.
Kim, I don't know if you address this or not, but within the RFP, what is it, RPF, is there a way to tell, say like, for an example, if the buyer is looking for a woman-owned business or a disadvantaged business?
Sometimes, sometimes not. So some buyers, so I'll go back to the search here and I'll show you. Again, this is a filter that's only available in our paid, but you can see it anywhere. So I can look and do searches specifically for solicitations that might be minority, women-owned, disabled. There's other statuses in there too. There's indigenous people, etc. So this one happens to be, this one is the only one that just mentions catering in it. But for of this specific type that's open right this second. But I'm going to show you, let's look here and just look at closed solicitations to see if I can show you one that has it. Okay. So let's get rid of catering, just so I can show you where it would show up in an actual solicitation. It's not going to show me. So if I was looking at a solicitation, I'm going to go back to open here real quickly so I can find more. So if I was just looking at all of my open solicitations here.
Can you share that screen with us?
Oh, am I not sharing it? I apologize. For some reason, Zoom today would not allow me to share like just everything. So I've been having to move back and forth. So it's right here under this general requirements of the filter, which again, I actually do know this section is not available with free. But this section here has it as an option. And so if I was looking at, I'm just going to click on air compressor, for example. If this was a solicitation that was this one doesn't even have anything, sorry. It would be showing up on that little list there. So let me again just try to scroll down here and see. So this is where it would be, but I just don't see any that that have it open right now. But let me check. So I'm going to put in disadvantaged, set aside. I'm just going to kind of click a few of these right here and see if any of these, it logged me out. Sorry, I didn't like what I just did. All right, so if I look at this guy should hopefully have one of those. So if I scroll down to the buyer's requirements here, it's going to have under participation requirements, disadvantaged business enterprise, women-owned business participation, minority business participation. So even if you don't have the paid $108 for the year access, if you look at the actual solicitation that matches just your keyword search and you're looking at that, it should have that in there. Now, again, because this is the buyer, this is going to be up to the buyer of whether they put this. Even if they don't put this in there, they may have a program either by law or just part of their purchasing policy that would award you as a women-owned business more points because you're a women-owned business or because you are a minority business upon award, like the awarding process, right? So when I'm selecting between these three bid responses, because this one is women-owned, you get X number of more points on that process, and then that kind of puts you over the edge to win. So that can happen too, even if it's not listed here. But if it is listed, then it will be right here under the buyer requirements on that first page of an open solicitation. And then I do apologize. I'm so sorry because I know we covered so much and it feels like 2 hours flew by. But I do have another meeting that I am now 2 minutes late to. So I so apologize that I have to kind of bolt. But
Yeah, we really.
yeah. Yeah, but I think the best thing to do is just play around with it, get in there, play around, see what's what. Look at those open solicitations, and then I will send Michelle you this document so that you can give it to everybody. I'll try to do that like within the next 5 minutes. And then also I will find out and get back to you on the whole closed solicitations. All right, thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.